Student loan debt. I'm going to read these stories, and you tell me your thoughts on the student loan debt that we got going on, the forgiveness program that we have going on. Let's see which story. Okay, so former Clinton advisor slams Biden student loan debt handout. This is terrible policy. Well, it's bad policy as well as bad politics. For that amount of money, you could find free pre-K for every 3 and 4-year-old for 10 years. You can do a lot more good for poor people, communities of color, and underprivileged by doing pre-K. You could forgive all medical debt, which, unlike student debt, is not freely entered into. Former advisor to Clinton said, Paul Begala said, adding that he was a progressive. What is my party doing with this? They're disadvantaging. I think they're not helping the people we're here to help, which is poor people in underprivileged communities, and they're not helping their politicians who are running. Begala said this. So at the same time, Bernie Sanders, I'll give you what Bernie said about this. Bernie said on Sunday, responded to examples of Democrats criticizing $500 billion student loan debt handout by saying the criticism is correct before arguing that the answer is not to deny help to people who cannot deal with these horrendous student debt. Maybe we should have the courage to take on the drug companies and not pay 10 times more for a particular drug than they do in other countries. So the answer is not to do what Republicans want to do. Oh, it's unfair to this person because we're helping that person. The answer is maybe to create government which works for all people and not just the wealthy campaign contributors. That's what Bernie Sanders had to say. Tom, what are your thoughts on this student debt forgiveness?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't normally line up the way I line up right now with Paul Begala, but I am 100% with him. There are upstream problems in this country and there are downstream problems. The student debt that is in the hands of these students that are being really hammered by the processors. Remember, it's the loan processors. Once you get the student loan debt, you get a letter from somebody that says, hi, we are the company that's going to be processing your debt. Send your payments here. And the interest rates and everything that go with that, the students get hammered by that. That's downstream. If you want to go back upstream, Paul Begala is doing a great job of making a point, is saying, listen, want to help education, want to get people more educated, we could take all of this and we could cover pre-K and 3 or 4-year-olds. So we could start education at an earlier year and give kids that are normally disadvantaged a jump start, maybe to be more competitive later. I love that line. But the other side of it that I'm looking at is Bernie is right. What they're doing here is forgiving the people who knowingly went into the debt. Now, I happen to think what we should probably be doing is working on a relief with the processors. What if we took 1/10 of that $500 billion and bought down the interest rate with the processors so that people have a fighting chance to pay off the debt? Says, hey, you owe $80,000 to the processor. Currently it's sitting at 9.5. Wham, it's 4. Now it's 4%. You know as well as I do, Adam, just the math of money, that would be a huge help.
On the interest rate side of things.
That's exactly right. So rather than forgiving the debt, why don't we get into it and say, how do we make it more manageable for these people to pay off? And something else I'd love to talk about, PBD, on another time. If the oil companies raise prices and they get drug into Congress for price gouging hearings, guess what? The entire collegiate system needs to be dragged in front of Congress for price gouging hearings.
Yeah, so my angle is a different angle. By the way, and I appreciate that. Tyler, can you show the video I just sent you? I don't know if you have it or not. So this is a father going up to Elizabeth Warren. Did we comment on this yet or not?
I have not.
Okay, so Elizabeth Warren's talking to a bunch of folks, and his father, on the day when they announced this, walks up to Elizabeth Warren and says this, and she has nothing to say. Like, Elizabeth Warren's helper cannot wait for this man to stop talking. Yeah. You'll see this. If you can make it bigger so everybody can see it, go ahead and play it, and let's hear the audio. Watch this.
And then she says something.
Fast forward a little bit, like 3 seconds.
Well, he's waiting for her.
Okay, right there. Watch this.
Yep, this guy in the black jacket.
Listen.
My daughter's getting out of school. I've saved all my money. She doesn't have any student loans. Am I going to get my money back? Of course not. So you're going to pay for people who didn't save any money, and those of us that did the right thing get screwed.
No, it's not anybody got screwed. When we
Of
started,
course we did. My buddy had fun, bought a car, went on vacations. I saved my money. He made more than I did. But I worked a double shift, worked extra. My daughter's worksheet is 10. So you're laughing. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. We did the right thing, and we get screwed.
I appreciate
That's
it.
all right.
Yeah, I love those moments.
So you can't blame people like that who are sitting there saying, I did all the right thing, but you're going this direction. And then what I will say, kind of where Tom was briefly commenting on it, is the following thing. Here's what we have to ask ourselves. Okay, so in the process, in this context of student loan, what parties are involved? Let's go through it. Number one is the loaner. The loaner is who?
Sally Mae.
Sally Mae.
Navient.
Number two is who? Is the person that's receiving the debt, which is who? The individual.
The customer student.
The customer student, possibly,
Parent.
which parent,
Family.
right?
Parent.
Okay, so we got the loaner, which is Sally Mae, and
Navient.
Okay, then we have the person that's getting the loan, which is the student, hence the parent. Then we have government, and then we have college, okay? So you have four parties involved here. Now, let's take a look at this. When they do this, who doesn't pay a single price for this? By the way, we have one other person involved in this as well. It's called taxpayers, okay?
Yeah,
So we got
that's true.
taxpayers, which is us. We got the student that got the loan. We got the Sally Mae, who was like, shit, here you go. And then we have the government, and then we have the university. Who paid the least price when this decision was
College.
made? Exactly.
The university, which is
Exactly.
the business raising the prices.
Exactly. And you know what's crazy about that? This is the part that's crazy about that when you're talking about universities. Universities themselves, are sitting there. They keep the money, and 80%. They said the other day, for every one conservative professor in America, there's 13 liberal professors in America. So they have a monopoly on philosophies they're teaching to our students that are being sent there. So there is already a monopoly of teaching a philosophy that you have a control over. You're not getting a 6 professors on one side, 6 on another side, or 6 and 1 independent, and you're kind of learning from everybody. And then on top of that part that we're talking about with schooling, they have the audacity to bash capitalists who pay taxes, who go through what they go through, and you're not paying any taxes. And at the same time, you're not even being punished. The punishment's going on students. No one's judging you for your quality of education where salaries haven't increased for the last 20 years. Maybe you ought to be judged a little bit. If education is so fantastic, how are kids coming out with the same average salary as they got 20 years ago? You want to blame corporations? How about we blame your method of education? How come we can't hold them accountable? How come nobody can get at them and say, hey, no, you can't talk about this because I went to such and such school and I'm a booster. God forbid we say anything about these universities. So that part is not being accountable. So then go to the next one. And let's find out who pays the biggest price. So the person that pays the least price in this party is who? University.
University.
Who pays the biggest price?
The taxpayer.
The customer.
The customer,
parent.
which is the student.
The parent.
And their parents.
Who's the second that pays the biggest price? Taxpayer. It's us.
It's us.
Okay.
Because we're the backstop when you forgive it.
You got it. So there's 2 left. Government and Sally Mae, which let's just say is the least. They're there. So the person that pays the biggest price is the student. Second is us, the taxpayer. Least is colleges. Then it's Sally Mae and the government. What are we talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not to
What are we
feel
talking about here?
it's not to feel bad about, but there is a party in this, the loan processors, who are now going to be processing less loans, so they're going to make less money. So as a business, the loan processors are going to have their business hit.
Look,
But it's hard to feel bad for those particular folks.
The biggest question is the following question. Okay. What can you and I go and get financing from the bank?
For like house, car.
Okay, so we can get a house. The bank will finance a house.
House, a
Of course.
car.
Will they finance a car?
Of course.
Will they finance a wedding?
No.
Why not?
Because there's no
Too
asset.
risky.
It's gonna fail in a year.
Too risky.
Way
ladies
too
and
much
gentlemen.
So they will not finance a wedding. Okay, let's keep going with this. Will they finance me potentially starting a business?
Maybe at best.
You're right. Maybe at best.
Well, but
wait,
only
like-
to the extent you'll sign a personal guarantee against your
Sure.
assets
Right.
if you even have them.
Motorcycle. Will
Yes.
they, motorcycle.
I got a motorcycle.
How about an piece of art if I'm getting? Will they finance a piece of art?
I don't think so.
The bigger banks, Goldman, Morgan, they will
Yeah.
do it. I don't know if
Okay.
the Bank of America guy, hey, can you finance trying to buy the Salmon Monday, whatever piece.
But it's
No.
usually like
Salvatore-
half value.
Salvatore
They'll
Mondial.
finance it, but it's usually like half value.
Yeah. Now here's the last one. You ready? How many banks finance me to go get a 4-year college degree?
Zero.
Why is
Not
that?
one. Weird.
Why
Weird.
is that?
The Fed, the Bank of the
So
Federal
let me get
Government.
this straight. Banks won't finance weddings and college
Too risky.
degree.
Yeah.
It's way too risky. Yeah, right?
Maybe there is a lesson there because what capitalism and free enterprise will teach us is whatever people are not willing to pay for, there's a reason for it. Okay, there's a reason for it. What are your thoughts with this story here?
Well, look, there's sort of mixed. I have mixed kind of feelings here. I'm not a fan of this. Believe me, the guy that went up to Elizabeth Warren here who said, I saved that money, you're never going to hear me disagree with that guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is my entire slogan of my entire life is save that money. So respect to that guy.
Double shift.
Exactly. So, but there is a difference between the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders wing of the progressive left and the Biden side of things because they all campaigned on different promises. So everyone wants to talk about promises made, promises kept. Biden campaigned on canceling $10,000 of student loan debt. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that,
said it.
that's a different topic. That's what he campaigned on. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie wanted to cancel all debt.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, yeah, that's a little freaking aggressive, bro. So there's 20 million Americans who woke up this week and said, I owe exactly $0. Now, if you're that person, the choice is yours now, buddy. Yeah. You've been given a life raft. You somehow woke up. You had $20,000 of student loan debt, depending on your Pell Grant status, right, Tom? The Pell Grant.
Yep.
That's if you're lower income.
The whole mechanism.
And I think 40 Americans have received some sort of loan forgiveness. So I'm not a fan of this. I had D1 on my show, the Sozcast, last week. This guy got famous, viral, for doing a song called I Paid Sally Mae Back, where it was a play on words between, rather than driving a Maybach, because he's a rapper, he paid Sally Mae back.
That's actually pretty dope.
And it was ridiculous. It went viral and the guy hit the scene. So I'm not a fan of this, but this is what Biden did promise. My next point, and then I'll turn it back over to you guys. The fact that how my whole save that money, political wokeness, whatever you want to awakening, it actually happened at a insurance event that you've ever been to AALU?
I know what it is. I've not been.
Never, but we met at NALBA years ago, and AALU and NALBA actually merged. It's an area called Finseca now, right? And this is 2012-ish, and they had a debate. You talk about this is your idea of what you want school to look like. They had a debate, and who was the debate with? Paul Begala, Clinton guy, and none other than Tucker Carlson, Fox guy. So I'm sitting there listening. I have no political ideology at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just watching Tucker and Paul Begala go at it. And I'm like, I like this shit.
Yeah.
This is good. Ideologies exchanged left, right, up, down. I'm like, okay, he's got a point. But circling back, making my point here, this is something that Tucker and Paul Begala would both agree on. They do not like this idea of all this student loan
I'm
forgiveness.
pissed off, Pat, because we both joined the military about the same age. Now I'm pissed off because I didn't go to college. I didn't spend now I'm just like, what? Now I have to pay for other people's kids to fucking go to college, and it drives me bananas.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.